Hello everyone, welcome to this tutorial by Zebra Code. In this tutorial, we are going to download and install the Microsoft Visual Studio on Windows platform. The Microsoft Visual Studio is a powerful code editor. It is a multi-purpose integrated development environment, IDE, and it supports many aspects of software development. Before we go further, I would like to make it clear to you here that Visual Studio is different from VS Code or the Visual Studio Code Editor. I have done before a separate video on how to download and install VS Code or Visual Studio Code. But in this tutorial, we are going to focus on how to download and install the Microsoft Visual Studio 2022. We will see in this video why and how you can download the appropriate one for you, whether it's going to be the Microsoft Visual Studio 2022 or the VS Code editor that you need to download for your purpose. To download the Microsoft Visual Studio 2022, we will go to their official website. We will go to the Visual Studio Downloads website by following this link. You can do a Google search for Microsoft Visual Studio 2022 download, and it will give you some results that you can follow to get to this link. However, for me, I will follow this link right on the screen. By following the link in the previous slide, I am now on their official website where I can download the Microsoft Visual Studio 2022. As at the time of recording this video, this is how their website looks. This is the page where you can download the Visual Studio 2022. You can click on downloads here to download it, or you download it straight away. There are different versions for Visual Studio 2022. We have the Community Edition, which is free to download. We have the Professional Edition, which is not free, but you can download the free trial just to test it. We also have the Enterprise Edition, which is also not free, but you can also download the free trial version for it. Now let's scroll down the page to see what other information they have on their website. Here we have Visual Studio 2022 for Mac. If you are on the Mac platform, you can download it here. Here we have Visual Studio Code, which is different from Visual Studio 2022. Visual Studio Code is free to download, and you can download it here. Here it shows the different operating systems that you can download Visual Studio 2022 for. In my case, I am on the Windows platform, and it detects my operating system as Windows straight away. But before I download it, let me explain some other things to you on this page. It says here, select all that apply to you. So let's go through them one after the other. If I click on .NET here, it shows download Visual Studio Community 2022 Professional Enterprise 2022, which means I can download .NET with Visual Studio 2022. If I click on C#, it shows here download Community 2022 Professional 2022 Enterprise 2022. What that means is I can use Visual Studio for C# on Windows. I'll tick that. If I tick C++, the same thing here, it says download Visual Studio Community 2022, Professional 2022, Enterprise 2022, which means I can use Visual Studio 2022 for C++. I will untick it. Now, if I tick Web, it shows download Visual Studio Community 2022, Professional 2022, and Enterprise 2022, which means I can use it for web application development. If I click on Cloud, it says the same thing here, Visual Studio Community 2022, Professional 2022, Enterprise 2022. And if I click on Desktop, the same thing, it is available for Community 2022, Professional 2022, and Enterprise 2022. We untick it. But if I click for Python, this time I get download Visual Studio Code, which means I cannot download Microsoft Visual Studio 2022 for Python. So it is not Visual Studio 2022 that it is suggesting for me to download, instead the Visual Studio Code. And when I click on Java, here again it says download Visual Studio Code. When I click on JavaScript, it suggests that I download Visual Studio Code. When I click on TypeScript, it shows that I should download Visual Studio Code. When I click on Node.js, it says download Visual Studio Code. When I click on Games, this time it says download Visual Studio Community 2022, Professional 2022, Enterprise 2022. We untick it. When I click on Mobile, Android, iOS, it shows download Visual Studio Community 2022, Professional 2022, Enterprise 2022. I will untick it. When I click on Data Science, it says download Visual Studio Code. Now I will untick it. Now when I click on this last one here, Machine Learning, Artificial Intelligence, it says download Visual Studio Community 2022, Professional 2022, Enterprise 2022. I will untick it. So now you can see which language you can download Visual Studio 2022 for, and which language that you can download Visual Studio Code for. If you are looking for older versions of Visual Studio, you can download them here by clicking on the older downloads. But in this video, we are going to download Visual Studio 2022. Okay, now let's download the community version of Visual Studio 2022, which is free. So click on the free download button here. It is downloading. Now it has finished downloading. I'm going to look for it in where it was downloaded to on my computer. I will click on the show in folder icon here. Great, it was downloaded to my downloads folder. Find out where yours was downloaded to. It is likely going to be in your downloads folder as well. It is an executable file, and I'm going to double click on it to install it. Double click on it. If you get any Microsoft security message, click yes. Now this page will pop up, Visual Studio Installer. Click Continue. It may take some time. Be patient. Great. Now you will get a window that opens and you have some options to choose from here. You can scroll down to go through them. Now, in this window that opens, you can select what you would want to install it for. For here, ASP.NET for web development. If you want it, you can click on it. For Python development, you can click on it if that's what you want. For Node.js, you can click on it. Azure development, you can click on it. Here for desktop and mobile, you can select any option that you would want. Desktop development with C++, I will click on it. Now it says here that total space required 8.62 gigabytes. So all these features will be installed, but I would need this amount of disk space. If I add mobile development with C++ to it, now it says total space required 20.04 gigabytes, which is a lot. You can also install any of these ones later, so don't worry about how many or what you select here at the moment. So I'm going to untick this one so that I install just this one, desktop development with C++, and my disk space is 8.62 gigabytes. Now click on install. And here it says Visual Studio Community 2022, downloading and installing. If you have an earlier version of Visual Studio Community Edition installed on your computer, it will come up here, it will show up here. In my case, I already have Visual Studio Community 2019 installed on my computer, and that is why I'm getting this. You might not get something like this if you are installing it for the first time on your computer. You will only get this one here. It says here, start after installation. You can untick it or leave it as it is by default. It may take some time depending on your internet speed connection. Be patient. Once again, be patient. Depending on your internet connection speed, it can take some time to download and install the Visual Studio 2022 Community Edition. If you want, you can click on the pause icon and resume the installation later. Okay, it says installing. This might take a while. Be patient. Now it is finishing up. Now it is cleaning up. Once again, be patient. Great, the Microsoft Visual Studio 2022 was installed successfully. Now it is launching. In the process of launching Visual Studio, you will get this screen with these messages. Sign into Visual Studio, sign in, create an account, skip for now. We are not going to sign in, we are not going to create an account, so click on the skip for now. And here you will have this screen, development settings, general. Now click on start Visual Studio. And you will get this message, personalize your Visual Studio. Hang on while we set up for first use. This may take a few minutes. If you are launching Visual Studio for the first time, it will take some minutes to launch. Be patient. Great. There's something I can point out to you here. If after installation Visual Studio 2022 has not launched automatically, there are many ways you can launch Visual Studio 2022. You can go to the Start menu here, Start, and you will find it in All Programs. Visual Studio 2022, this is the one we have just installed. You can click on it, or you scroll down to letter V, and this is the one that we have just installed, Visual Studio 2022. So you can click on it here, and that will launch it. Great. This page will open. On this page, click on the Create a New Project option. And here, you can select any of the options that you would want to use. In this case, we select Empty Project C++ Windows Console. Click on this one here and click Next. Now, let's give our project a name. I will call it My Intro. When you give it a name here, the name will also appear here in the solution name. Here, you can select the location that you would want to save your project in. Browse. In my case, I will select a folder which I named Test Work. And now the location for my project is selected. I'll click Create. This may take some time, especially if you are launching Visual Studio 2022 for the first time. Great. Now our project is created successfully. Here we have our project name and folder in the right panel under the Solution Explorer. And here it says debug S64. If you want to change it to S86, you can change it, but for now, let's leave it as it is, S64. Here for our project My Intro, we have some folders: external dependencies, header files, resource files, source files. Don't worry about them for now. However, we need to create our main.cpp file inside our My Intro project folder. To do that, you can right click on it, and when you right click on it, these pop-up options will come up. Click on Add, and here click on New Item. The shortcut for that is Ctrl plus Shift plus A. That is on Windows. That will be Command plus Shift plus A on Mac if you are using a Mac, but we are on Windows, so I will click here now, New Item. And this page will pop up. By default, it chooses C++ file, which is a .cpp. So here it says source.cpp. Let's change the name. I will call it main.cpp. This time click Add. Great. Now we have our main.cpp file added to our My Intro project. It is a part of the source files folder. You can click on this to minimize it, or click on it again to maximize it, and when you expand it, the file will be visible again. Before we add any code to this, there is another way you can add a file to this project. You can go to Project, Add Module, Add Class, add new item, add existing item. So these are some options that you can use as well to add files to your project. Now let's enter some C++ code in our new file, main.cpp. Include IOStream, include IOStream, include string, int main, return 0, std cout, hello world, std : end line. The reason we are using std : cout and std : end line is because we have not said here using namespace standard. Now save it. Let's build our code. Now go to build, and what are we building? We are building our project, my intro. You can also use the shortcut Ctrl+B. I will click on build my intro. Great, it was built successfully. Now let's move this one up a little bit. Now let's run it. To run it, click on this icon here, local Windows debugger. Click on it. Great, it was run successfully, and here it says hello world. So this is how you download and install the Microsoft Visual Studio 2022 on Windows. I will close this one. In the process of doing this video, we have successfully downloaded the Microsoft Visual Studio 2022. We have installed it successfully on our Windows platform. We also created a C++ application. We were able to build and run it successfully. You can use the same process here to write a C application, and you will be able to build and run it successfully as well. I hope you learned something from this video. Subscribe to this channel if you have not subscribed already. Comment in the comment section, and thank you for watching. See you in my next video. Bye for now.